There are many in our culture that questions the question of objective truth. So that truth about what is right and wrong and the grounding of virtue. Could you talk to us a little bit about that very important preliminary question?
I think what you're probably getting at is there an idea of a natural law, or the idea that human beings through reason can understand something about truth? And the Muslims had very interesting early debates about this. The Mu'tazilite, which came to be known in the English Orientalist tradition as the rationalists, argued that indeed the intellect could perceive truth, and that revelation was something that just clarified and helped truth. It was like a midwife for the intellect. The dominant tradition, which is the Sunni tradition, differed on that slightly. They actually divide into three. So they said that truth, which they talked about husn and qubh, which is virtue and vice, or goodness and ugliness. I mean, they used aesthetic terms for moral terms. And so they basically argued that the intellect can determine what is good and what is bad, like knowledge is good and ignorance is bad. And I'm talking about the dominant. This is the dominant position of the Muslims historically. They also argued that the intellect could determine what they called mafsada and maslaha, benefits and harms in society. Like, for instance, traffic laws are good because they benefit safety, and anarchy on the road would be bad because it would cause accidents and cause harm. So they agreed that the intellect could discern these things. Where they differed was in placing a reward or a punishment that had any absolute truth to it, that was God's prerogative alone. So, for instance, the intellect could discern that it would be good to be in a relationship with a partner and take care of the children that came out of that relationship, that would be good, that the man would honor that and not simply just abuse a woman and then abandon her with children. But marriage and the idea of the contract of marriage would be seen as something that the Sharia the sacred law or revealed law would determine. So they put limits on the ability of the intellect to arrive, I think, more at the details. But the broad strokes, they understood that the intellect did have the capacity to perceive good and bad, and also what some ethicists, going back to Aristotle, would call real and apparent goods. But there's something in the Quran which is a constant motif, and that is the idea that human beings can become delusional. There's this idea that they can be tricked and fooled into thinking what's bad is good and what's good is bad. And so they saw that although the nature could determine these things in a kind of principial awareness, but that nature could be corrupted by nurture. And so a society could actually corrupt. So, for instance, in the story of Sodom and Gomorrah, the Sodomites want to expel Lot and his family, and they say these are people that purify themselves. So they saw actually people that were chaste to be something negative. And so this is where they would argue there was a corruption of human nature.